Good evening, everyone. We are so excited to be here tonight for the Domestic Violence Conference that has been lasting through the entire month. We have a bonus speaker through this whole evening, Miss Estelle Gibson. And excuse me for being a little bit late. I'm just really excited. So sometimes in my excitement, I probably plan a little bit too many things. And that's okay. So it's my bad that we're a little bit late. But we're thrilled. She reached out to me and has a story that is just amazing. And I knew I could work her in to this amazing conference because, in faith, things happen and move and shift around for a reason. And a window opened and she was able to come right into this position for tonight as a bonus. And this is so exciting because many of you remember Miss Audrey on Monday talked about entrepreneurship and how after leaving abuse, what was going to happen next. And she kind of went through the welfare process for a while and then disability. And now she has a full thriving business that's helping women to, become independent and working in business. So I'm like, well, let's match that up with Estelle because, wow, she is going to help us really push forward with that concept of now that we're having money coming in, does the money have a plan? Do we know what to do with it? What can happen next? Now, I will say, because this is a focus of the Unite in Light conference, I know for myself, one of the largest things that kept me stuck and trapped in the abuse that I was suffering was the financial hindrance. And it's a little bit different than most, but there was just no money because his business partner was a figment of his mind. And the business partner that lived in his mind, because he had schizophrenia, handled all the bills. So it was a little rocky. And so until I could secure something, I knew I was going to be stuck there for a long, long time. So this helps to bring everybody in. So tonight, Beacon of Light is here to sponsor and support our Unite in Light Domestic Violence Conference. And we're super just thrilled to be here. So many people have a lot of things, a lot of moving parts happening at this time of month. And so it's really excited that she was like, yes, I'll do it. So I can't thank you enough. Estelle, will you please share a little bit about yourself because it's just thrilling about your whole journey, and don't forget that TED Talk place. Okay. Whatever. Go for it.
All right. So, my journey to where I am today started, in my youth. So I grew up in a family where there was domestic violence, emotional and physical abuse. And I grew up in a family where my father managed all the money. But for some reason, when I was 8 or 9 years old, he started teaching me things about money. So he would teach me, about the bank books and saving and what we do with the money and where it goes and, all this stuff. And I'm just this, young girl. And he always, every time he would teach me something about money, he would end by saying, don't tell your mother, which at the time was difficult for me because I grew up in a family where there's 5 kids, 4 girls. I was the youngest girl. And my mom was my friend because my older sisters kind of, you always have to have somebody to pick on. So my oldest sisters always sort of picked on me. So I hung up with my mom most of the time. So I had a really close relationship with my mom. So to tell me at 8 or 9 years old, don't tell your mom something was, right then there's okay. But because of who my dad was, I never told anybody until I did my TED Talk. I mean, I never told anyone.
Wow. Wait. You revealed all of this at TED?
Yeah.
Okay. That's amazing. Wow. I mean, I would have been sweating buckets. Wow, that is amazing.
It was a journey. Wow. I didn't want to do it because nobody in my family really I don't even know if they knew the story. So it was a huge hurdle for me to come over because inherent, I have to quickly tell you the story, April. Inherent in what I was taught at a young age was don't tell. And I'm telling, that bled through my whole TEDx experience, to the point where one of the things they do at TED is you're not allowed to tell anybody you've been selected. So it was don't tell, don't tell, don't tell. The whole process for me over 4 months of doing my whole TED process was all about not telling. So I was confronted through the whole process. It was crazy. And then here I am doing the thing that, my lifelong mantra was really, what a way to break it out in front of, 1,200 people live. And then my video was selected to go viral on Big TED. So over 1.6 million people have seen my video. So
wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
Because I know that story is something that so many of us connect with. Maybe not the financial side of things, but that understanding of
don't you tell.
Oh my goodness. Don't tell. Can I share some of the comments that are popping up right now?
Sure.
Chelly says, so many women think they have been at home. They don't have skills. There's not a way to repackage yourself to get the job, to get start money to come in.
Absolutely.
I mean, yes, that's so true. And you, because of the skills you learned, even though it was, don't tell anybody, were they skills that you just started to immediately apply to your own finances, even at a young age? Really?
Yeah. So the next step was that at 16 years old, I got my first job. And literally my dad managed everyone's money. So if you got a job, you had to bring your check home and give it to him, even us kids. And so when I got my job at Arby's at 16, he said, you bring me your check. And for some reason, I think because he had taught me all that stuff, I said, and it's back in the day, I had a checkbook. I said, I want my bank book. And he actually gave it to me. I was shocked. I didn't expect it. I expected him to say, no, bring me your check. But he actually handed me my bank book. And from that point forward, at 16 years old, I took over my own money management, saving money, saving for college, applying for college, all of that.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Amazing. And what a skill. So you are the youngest of 5?
I was the 4th. So I had a younger brother, but I was the 4th girl.
Youngest girl.
Yeah.
Okay. So as far as you can see and understand, no one else received this, I'll say training or practice from your father, only you. Wow. Has it made a difference in the lives of your siblings? Are they, really?
Yes, there's some that are dependent on their spouses. There's some that have had, a lot of money issues because they never learned how to, and they were dependent and they never really learned that skill. And some of them are, yes, they've gone on and gotten educations and so forth. But, and one of the things I work with people on, April, is that environment that you grew up in, the belief system and the skills and that environment follow you. It just follows you throughout your life.
That is so true.
Oh, it is. It's true. It's the and I have a model that I use with people. It's like the 4 levels of belief. You can apply it to any belief in your life, but you can apply it to your money also. So the 4 levels are the belief of the society that we live in. So we are born into, whether you live in the United States, the UK, wherever you live, we're born into a society that has certain beliefs about money. In the United States, we believe in credit. We believe in, spending beyond our means. There's all kinds of beliefs that are very different than like third world countries or other countries. And that's true for domestic violence and relationships and those kind of issues too. There are certain beliefs that are at the society level here that are just there. Then there's the community level, whether it's the community that you grow up in your neighborhood or your church community, or if you're an athlete, you're surrounded by coaches or Little League or Boy Scouts. There's a whole community level of beliefs for money and for your life. Then there's the family level of beliefs. So the family that you grow up in. I know many people have mantras like, we have to work hard for our money. We'll never have enough. We have to rely on others. We have to borrow. So there's all kinds of family beliefs at the family level. And then the personal level. So if you've been divorced, been through domestic violence, had a job, lost a job, had a business, lost a business, all of those levels all those beliefs on a personal level contribute. So our belief system is based on all those environments. And unless we, number one, know that and are willing to change that, we live that.
Wow. Powerful, powerful words. Very true. I think many of us in the audience are kind of like, oh, oh, yeah, you're right. You're right. And I remember my grandparents, they came from just two different sides of belief. So I had one set that really liked to, we'll say, keep up with the Joneses, right?
Yep.
I had another side that was the mantra of the family was perseverance and self-denial. And my grandfather never paid or only paid cash for his vehicles, never borrowed money. So it was like completely different aspect.
Right.
And the weave and mix between, I remember a few times my grandmother saying, come here. Now don't tell your grandfather, right? Because she had a little stash that he didn't, know about. And because he controlled everything as well. And she had a stash there. And for birthday, she would, don't say anything to grandpa, and
Right.
and it was right there in the midst of the mother's oatmeal iced cookies. Do you remember those?
Yes.
So we would get a cookie and we'd get our little birthday money and off we'd go.
Yeah.
It was a secret. And I learned from my grandma, I even call it a squirrel account, that I squirrel something away that nobody knows about this special account. And that was taught for her. So there's my vulnerability confession of the night.
Yeah.
So interesting. So interesting. I wanted to throw a few of these comments up here. Kathy says, impressed of how you manage money at such a young age. Agreed, for sure. Oh, Lisa would like to know this. What is the title of your TED Talk, Estelle?
The True Cost of Financial Dependence.
Wow, powerful. Did that title just come to you? Was that something that you worked on? How did all of that come about?
Actually, the way TED works, so I did a local TED talk called a TEDx talk. And so that talk was called Financial Dependency, the Invisible Weapon. And then when Big TED decided they wanted to put me on the main stage, we worked together to change the title. I like the second title. I loved the first title because the invisible weapon is the Allstate Foundation, or the Purple Purses. That's their signature, kind of slogan. And it goes, financial or domestic violence leaves bruises and scars, but financial dependency or financial abuse doesn't. That's why it's called the invisible weapon. You can't see it. You can't see the scars of financial abuse. You can't, it's invisible. So those are the two titles I kind of had, was financial dependency, the invisible weapon, and then the true cost of financial dependency.
Amazing. How incredible. I mean, that just sharing that part of the process is really, really phenomenal. I like what Candace says here. Definitely, this resonates as a child survivor. Wow. And John, turn your pain into your purpose, a platform. Yes. And he also says he loves what you do. So this is incredible. When you say you work with women, is this outside of a regular job? Is this ongoing? Is this coaching been going for a long time? Is this something that you feel called to do? Like, share a little bit about this.
Yeah, I'm going to continue on my story, April, because this is how I got into this. So, I decided when I was in high school that I wanted to be an accountant because I took a class and fell in love with it. And I've been doing all this money stuff. So I went to school, became an accountant, became a CPA. And then I met and married my now ex-husband, my husband at the time. And he was really good with money. So I had been managing my money since I was 16, and I got married when I was 28. So he wanted to manage all the money. So I willingly handed over. I was like, great. I don't want to deal with it. I've dealt with it forever. Super. And he was really good at it. So I gave that up. And then 5 years after we got married, he came home one day out of the blue and just walked in the kitchen and said, I want a divorce. And I had no idea. I mean, it was like totally out of the blue. He had gotten in a relationship. I didn't know about it. And so he wanted a divorce. And my life changed that day because I hadn't been managing the money for 5 years. I was left with a house I couldn't afford, bills I couldn't pay, and situations I wasn't ready for. And you might think, well, how does that happen to somebody that's a financial professional? I reverted back to what I saw growing up, to the point where when I got married, my mom encouraged me. She's like, you keep your own money, let him manage, do all this. And so I sort of fell back into that pattern and then was left to have to pick up the pieces and to rebuild my life. So that's when I started on the journey. When I went through my divorce, I had to rebuild my life financially and emotionally. I was emotionally distraught. And so I started taking lots of self-development courses and got involved in my church. And that's when I saw that I was in two communities. I was in a community where I was in self-development and people in my church, and they were struggling with money. They were afraid they couldn't make enough money. They were afraid they couldn't do what they loved and be successful with money. And then I'm in the financial environment where people have a lot of money, but they're afraid of losing it. They're trying to protect it. They're trying to hold on to it. And I saw that both communities were not having financial freedom, that they were both emotionally, struggling. So that's when I started to put together, what I'm doing right now, which was many years ago. It's taken a long time to get here, but I started teaching classes at my church, and I started putting together my materials, and I started working together with people to use the methods and the information that I use. And what I do is a little bit different because I work on your money and your mindset. So I do the emotional piece because I feel like without it, you're not going to get past some of what I find is that people get blocked, stuck, stopped. They'll do some things and manage their money for a while, but then they will revert back to old ways if they don't start looking at the awareness piece and healing some of the emotional issues around money, because we all have them.
How do you encourage people? What are their steps, actions to heal the emotional trauma about money? What do you do?
Well, it goes a couple different ways. So either people come to me and they want to work on their money, and then we start working on their money, and through that process, they get stuck, stopped, and we've got to deal with the emotions. Or people come with me and we can't even get started on the money because they have so much emotional distress about money. We've got to start working on the emotions. So it works both ways, and it kind of just presents itself. It's very different for each person, based on the trauma that they've had, the experiences that they've had, their skill level, their experience, how they learn. It's a whole kind of puzzle that we put together, and then, it's customized for what makes sense for them and what they want to do.
Wow. I am like signing. My brain is like, write this down. I'm like, oh, we're recording it. Okay. So I can lower the stress on that.
Yeah.
Amazing. Wonderful. I like how you allow the natural process to happen where it's like, okay, let's start with the concrete, which is the money, the negatives, the positives, what's the bank account? You're in the red or in the black, like how this is looking. And that's like, okay, it's a little embarrassing, but it's like, it's right there. We can own it. We can do that part. And then as the emotions are there. And then all of a sudden as they start spilling out, because I know for myself, they'd be spilling out, splash, my shirt would be wet. Like it'll be everywhere. And because shame comes up with this, guilt comes up with this, like big stuff. And I'm wondering how many other CPAs, if you guys have like a closet little like society out there saying, I know, and then they were crying, and like, if you guys talk all about us, in the back room or something, because it's so true. It is shameful, it is embarrassing, and it is tough. But you're saying when it presents itself, you're like, okay, I actually can help you through this part too.
Absolutely.
What is the response when you offer that part?
Relief. Like amazing. I can't even tell you how many people have, and one of the things, and I just think it's a gift. People tell me stuff. I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't ask you that, but it's the, like the gift of, I think it's encouragement or something, that it says, you have a sign on your forehead that says, tell me everything, but people will reveal things to me and almost in a whisper, like, you have no idea how much debt I have. And I'm like, I'll just say, wow, you're doing well like the rest of the country. That's like pretty normal. And when I kind of say those kinds of things, people look at me like, are you kidding me? Because they think they're the only ones. That's one of the keys to this, is that most people think it's only them. And I think, April, that is true with domestic violence, with financial abuse. People think it's only them. That's why they won't tell anyone. That's why they stay stuck, because they just know that nobody else is experiencing this.
Right. So true. I want to throw some of these comments up here. Um, Shelly then again says, and money and self-worth are tied so closely
Yes,
together. Cecilia says, yes, money issues were such a problem for my mom, leaving the abusive
absolutely.
relationship. And it
Mhm.
is so true. I mean, I was trapped for 8.5 years. And when I finally was able to get that job, mine was riddled with guilt, mother guilt. I
Right,
promised that if I had children, I would raise them. I wouldn't farm them out to anyone. Like, there was a sense of pride. It was a sense of emotional connection. It was also a sense of, if I don't know where they are, I don't know what he's going to do
right.
next. Right. So it was all this fear combined. And I remember when I was actually handed a job, I didn't even ask for one. I was actually like, they were like, can you start like tomorrow? And I was overwhelmed. I didn't know what of course I said yes, but after yes, driving home thinking, what did I just commit to?
What have I
And
just
the
done? Mhm.
tears, sobbing, thinking, I have to place my daughters in the care of someone else, daycare,
Mhm.
and just the overwhelming guilt that happened. And I remember every time I would write the check to hand it every month to pay for that, there was a piece of what I call the shame shadow, was like, is this really worth it? Is this
Mhm.
really worth it? And because mine works on doubt. My shame shadow is a
Mhm.
doubter. He's like with the doubt. So that was
Mhm.
really tough for me. But but kept going through. And a few other people out here are also similar, the same things. Lisa says, I love that you're a safe place for your clients
Mhm.
to share their heart. So true. We tend to believe that we were alone. We deserve this. It was our bad choices, mistakes. So when you're at that level and you've just said, the rest of the country is also in debt, and they feel like they're not alone anymore, they, what happens next? Like, what's their
Well,
next steps?
the first part is to really establish trust and build trust with the client so that they can continue the process of being aware. Um, I call it taking responsibility. So there's a couple phases in what I do. I start with having people take a look at what they really want and the big why behind that. The reason I do that is because when things get tough and you have to make tough decisions with your money, it's really good to have a big dream or something beyond yourself, whether it's your children or what you want to do in the world, to pull you forward. Because if you don't, you're not going to take some of those steps. So the first thing is to have a big dream. The second step is to take responsibility for where you are right now. It's not an easy thing to do, because then you've got to put all the cards on the table, because you can't get to a big dream. You can't put a plan together. And a lot of people will tell you, here's the 10-step plan or whatever. I don't do that with people. I have them start with the dream and where they're at. Just like a GPS. You put in your destination. If you didn't put where you're starting from, you would never be able to get a route. And so we do those two things first, and then we can put a plan together that makes sense for where they're headed. Because if you don't do that, then they'll start taking actions and steps that doesn't make sense. That they think, it's kind of a false thing, April. It sounds good, and yeah, I know I should be doing this, and that sounds like what I should be doing, and maybe let's go in that direction. And I've had clients come to me and go, just give me this worksheet or spreadsheet, or just give me the stuff I need to do a budget. And I'm like, so have you done that before? And they're like, yes. And did it work? And they're like, no. And I'm like, then we don't want to go down that path. Why do we want to go down that path? So, the next step is taking responsibility and laying all those cards out on the table. And when people realize that they are not alone, they can begin to take the steps to do that.
Right. Taking the steps to do that.
Yeah.
It's so customized. This is
Mhm.
something that, and I love, 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 love talking about the big dream first.
Yes.
I actually had an opportunity to help with some ghostwriting over the summer, and it's a similar topic. And that is something that this person also talked about, was this dream. If we don't have something to reach for, what's
Mhm.
the point? And I will tell you, I never dreamed. I never permitted myself to dream.
Right.
Now, as a child, I dreamt a lot. I mean, I was going to be on the stage. Like, it was like, Mary Lou Retton, here I come. There's my gold medal. Like, the whole thing, I had it down. And when you fall into such just trauma and abuse and whatever, you live for the next hour, the next
Yep.
hour, the next day. You and so
It's not safe to
victim. It's
dream.
so
It becomes
victim.
a safety issue, right?
Exactly. And there's another loss. Oh, another loss. See, you'll never get that. You're not worth it. All the garbage that happens. And I remember somebody asking me that. I'd been out of abuse for maybe 2 years. And
Mhm.
they said, "What's your dream?" Nothing came out of my mouth.
Right.
And this person said, "Aren't you just tired of surviving? Don't you want to thrive?" That was, I was destroyed when she said that. I was destroyed because I had identified,
Right.
look, I can survive. And she's like, "Stop singing the Survivor song. Don't you want to just go out there and do something else?" And I didn't know if that was possible. So you help them
You've
come
got
into
to
this
make
place
the
of
transition.
possibility.
So
Yeah.
the first transition is when you come out of an abusive situation, you've got to deprogram what you've been programmed, because you've been programmed to believe that you'll never make it without me. You're stupid. You'll never, be successful. You'll never have a home. I'll take your kid. Think of all the things that women are told, women and men in these situations are told, and they begin to believe it. And that's why they stay. So they've got to be deprogrammed from that, and to realize that those are lies and they're not true. And you can't make the leap, April, from that to the big dream. You've got to take the step of going, you know what? I'm safe. I'm okay. I can take the next step to say, I'm not stupid. I am capable. You got to build your self-esteem. You've got to build your confidence. And so you got to do that first.
And you have those opportunities and maybe a plan to help them build that, right?
Absolutely.
So how do you measure that? Like, because everyone's so customized, so different, is it kind of like this, I don't know, confidence level? It's like, ding, okay, you're ready. Now we go to the next step. Like, what
Well,
happens?
there's a couple ways of doing that. For the emotional piece, I call it levels of awareness. So people are at 3 levels. They're either asleep, they're awake, or they're aware. And if you're asleep, you just don't have any understanding of what's going on. You're just not conscious of, your environment, your belief system. You're just, in that situation where you're living day to day in survival. And then people begin to awaken when something usually happens. So, there's in that saying that it's pain pushes, I can't remember what it is, but there's something you go along as long as the pain of staying the same is worse than the pain of changing or making a change. So you decide that you need to make a change because you're either in so much pain or you have a tragedy that happens. You've got to leave, you escape, whatever. And so then people realize, I've got to do something different. So that's when they start to wake up and be conscious of what's happening and start to be willing to take a look at, what am I doing? Can I be doing something different? They're looking for information. They're looking for resources. And then people are aware when they go through that phase and they understand some of their beliefs and some about the things that I teach them. And then they can begin to put those things into place. It's like that one poem that said, that one day I walked down the street and I fell in a hole. The next day I walked down the street and I fell in the hole, but I got out. The next day I walked down the street and I noticed the hole and I walked around. The fourth day I walked down a different street. it's that, it's that,
Yes.
it's that kind of thinking is you've got to go through a process. So a couple ways we do that is I have people take an assessment of where they're at in their belief system. and in their situation. It can be done with a lot of journaling. It kind of depends on what the person wants to do. So some people like to journal. Some people will answer questions. Some people, it happens through the coaching process that, I will ask questions, and, based on their answers, I can get a feel for where they're at and what makes sense for them. Some of it's just intuitive. It really just depends.
Excellent. The concepts tonight, I think, are just so exciting and encouraging, because this isn't hopeless.
No, not
I mean,
at
this
all.
seems like, wow, like things can really happen here.
Yes.
And that is amazing. That is something that, it's incredible. Looks like I have some, my daughters are coming in to say hi. So if they get noisy, there you go. It's just life at home, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. So with the dream, with the process, with all of this understanding, when you decided to share these things with, with your clients, with the world and such like that, what do you hope to do in the future with all of this?
So my hope is that, I'd like to impact at least 100,000 women. That's my first goal.
Awesome. So 100,000,
Yeah.
I got to sign this right, 100,000 women to impact. Yes. Impact how?
My goal is that they break free from whatever situation that they're in, and that they know and understand that they can live the life of their dreams. Okay.
So 100,000 women living the life of their dreams, knowing that there's a process that they can get there.
Yes.
Okay. Amazing. That is very specific. So we know that when we are specific like that, the opportunity for that to really happen will be there. So that's fantastic. That's great. My daughter's like, hey. She's so cute.
And the other part of that, April, I am so committed to working with people that want to be on purpose, and that they in turn want to turn around and make a difference in the lives of others. That's kind of my thing, is I want to make a difference in the lives of others, and I want to help people that have that passion to do the same.
Agreed. I have a wiggly tooth. We've got a wiggly tooth on live. Here we go. Should we see this wiggly tooth, huh? Mister?
It's not very wiggly.
Not very wiggly. Can you go in the other room for me, and we'll get a story, okay? We're really close. I love so with the turnaround, I think this is something really, really key. The concept that, you want to help 100,000 women and you want to get them through to this big dream. I'm not going to say there's a condition on it. I'm not going to say that, but there's this hope with that when you have been taught how to fish, right? And when you have been taught these skills, when you have been taught this, and you're catching and you're living the dream, you're well fed. I know so many people's eyes look around, and I think there's a second awakening, right? Where they're like, hey, I could hate. And that awareness is like, now I know what to do to give back into the community, which is all my entire platform. My whole platform is amplification. The entire thing is amplification. Yes. Can I help you? How am I going to help you? Where can I see? And I can see people where there's gaps, holes, whatever. And I want to just amplify them so they get through their little barrier and off they go. Because they have a message that I could never share. Exactly. And they can. And they could impact here and they could impact there. And the whole concept of service, I share this a lot. And I think it's important. We're one candle power in strength. One candle power in strength. And for the longest time, I thought if we just gathered enough candles together, then we're bright enough. Well, we're just kind of like a bonfire, but bonfires can get out of control, and burn things down. And that's not the point. The point is, with one, if we gather people around us and they don't hold their light, they actually reflect and amplify the wave of light, just like what happens in a lighthouse. One candle power in strength with enough lenses and mirrors, it then can stretch over 20 miles. That's so much further than all these people together. You still can't see it.
Exactly.
But if you can stretch that wave out 20 miles, the person rocking around in that boat and in their storm, they see that pinpoint and now have a point to focus on. And as they get closer, the beam gets bigger.
Yay.
And they're awakened and they're like, Who else can I help? Who else can I help? That you have a mission that yes, I fully believe in. And it doesn't matter the how, but
Mhm.
if you are willing to reach out and love your neighbor and help them to find something else, wow.
Especially,
Yes, yes, yes.
especially people that have been through trauma and healing, because I just don't think that that message is wasted. I think that that message is planted, and that, out of that pain comes your purpose, and that, don't waste it. Use it, and use it to help and lift other people.
Oh, correct, correct. Kathy says, love the amplification, each individual. It's a fantastic mission, says John. Exactly. Beautiful, living the life of our dreams. Ah, you're a rock star. And I agree fully. I agree fully. Complete rock star here. She, like, isn't she the best? Like, this is incredible. So much amplification happening right here. And this is amazing. So on your journey to 100,000 women, where are we at in this process? How can we help you? Where do we go from here?
Wow. So I'm working on my book,
Okay.
and I'm working on a course. So I have another dream.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I have another dream. So one of the things I'd really like to do, because there's two kind of parts of my business. One is a give back, because I really want a lot of my books to be given to women that can't afford them, that need a way out.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Yes.
Yeah. And, I have the coaching business, and I work with business and all that. That's different. But I really feel like a part of it is a give back. And one of the things I'm really passionate about is having this information get to women. And so whether it's a conference or a workshop or a course, and I've already got someone that's interested in offering this course free to people that come to them, that women can get this education, and whether they are sponsored by another woman or sponsored by organizations, and that they are sponsored to get this information, to come to a conference, to get pampered, to get their self-esteem lifted, and have an event once a year where people can support each other, and women that would never be able to experience this get to experience the financial freedom, a pampering day, getting this information, and learning about, what is their dream, what is their purpose, and that they can move out of their situation powerfully.
Wow. Well, I have some connections with some of this. So we'll have to chat off screen.
Yes.
And this is going to be exciting. This is the part where when you are focused on serving your fellow being, you are only in the service of your God, and God opens doors and windows. And I can't tell you the amazing faith it takes. And suddenly there's the answer. Wow, another opportunity, a connection. Somebody knows somebody. Let me connect you with this. And things start rolling because the purpose is pure. It's really to help and support others. This is beautiful. This is so awesome.
I tell you what, April, I wouldn't choose this. Seriously, and a couple years ago, I got sort of clear that, this is the group of people. And I was like, no, thanks. I've created a life of safety. I don't want no part of this,
Whoa. You created a life of safety. You're like, I'm good. All Rapunzel's power. I'm here.
I left this life. I don't want to be, and then I went through the whole TED process. And I'm telling you what, right after I did TED, I went down to I live in an area where the YWCA has one of the largest shelters in the county, domestic violence shelter. And I went down to talk to them to see how I could, be of service, teach some classes, whatever. 2 years ago, there's no way I would have even gone to the building, because I would have been too afraid of, I can't get that close to the fire. And through my growth process, through doing the TED Talk and being vulnerable, I couldn't believe I was like in the building. And I really was glad I did it, because I couldn't believe how safe it was, how amazing they were, the services that they provide. I just was in awe of what they're providing for women in this area. And my fear would have kept me out of that and said, no, don't want to get too close to that, population. I might, whatever my fear was, but I worked through that. So, sometimes we just have to, that seed was dropped 3 or 4 years ago. And I said, I turned away from it, and then it looked me square in the face, and then I just had to walk towards it.
Right. Exactly. He kind of puts our heads like this and goes,
Right.
look over here. And you're like, oh, you mean over there.
Right.
I've been looking. Ah, okay. Yeah. I hear you on that. With Pinpoints Across America, no idea. I had been praying for years. How can I get the books to the people who need it? The people who need it are the people in the shelters. The survivors need these books. They can't afford these books. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Get distracted, live life a little bit more, then decide to go on a trip. And the nudge is, put some books in the back of your car and I'll show you. And I'm like, but I haven't called any, like, right? I haven't called anybody. Nobody knows I'm coming. We're in the middle of a pandemic. And it was like, do you trust me? Yes. Right? Wasn't that confident? I'm like, yes. And sure enough, we'd show up. You know, we were in Oklahoma, Kansas. We just went on our way. And anytime we'd stop for gas or for food, we would just drop off 2 books. And sometimes it was at the door. Sometimes it was a phone call in. It just all depended. And when we returned, it was just thumping on my heart. And I was too focused of how can I get going on more of this? And it was like, ask other people to help you.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's a strong suit of mine, asking for help. So it's like, oh, okay. So I'm going to work on that skill too. So we did. And it's crazy. It's crazy. It's now in 20 states, almost, goodness, let's see, we're at 26 shelters now. Wow. I just got news from Alaska that they've got some now, and 200 books have gone out, almost 230. I take another shipment out tomorrow. These were all these books that I had purchased for my speaking gigs, for my sales, for, oh, gotta amplify that out that way. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And he had told me when I started writing this book, he's like, it's time to write the story, and it's not for you. He had said that. I'm referring to Heavenly Father. The feeling in the spirit was like, it's not for you. We've got sisters to go and help. And focus back outward. And it's happening. So what you're thinking of and what you're doing, like, let's talk after camera. And I know that there's a direction for, you know, another contact in another way, because it's amazing. It's amazing. So we're kind of towards the end of our time here. So what is something that you would like to leave with everybody here tonight? Because our minds are just like buzzing. This is such great information.
Let's see, what do I want to leave people with? Just that there is hope, that your journey doesn't really end. You know, there's just different levels of the journey. So don't worry about where you're at. Start where you're at, because it'll continue for the rest of your life, basically. It just goes in different levels. So, you know, don't compare yourself with others. Just, you know, accept yourself where you're at. Know that you're not alone, and that there is hope. There is truly a way out, that, you know, we can disarm the invisible weapon. There's no doubt. And you can have financial freedom. It's true.
Very true. Exactly. Thank you so much for coming on. And I cannot wait to see this book come out and all of the things that are going to be happening with you. Fantastic. Wasn't she amazing tonight? Amazing. I love it. I mean, how cool for these women to be served by men who get it.
Wow. That's a huge healing piece. Wow.
Huge. John is stellar. He is awesome. He is amazing. He's very, very like in tune with this. His podcast really helps the guys to wake up and go, wow, wait, I can change too. And we need it on both sides. This whole teamwork.
I think that's really important.
It's so important. It's vital. Prevention is just vital. And we have to start with the guys. We have to start with families. It's the whole community. It's everyone. And so you're offering here a huge part, because if we can financially be supportive and helpful of others, themselves, they get on their feet. They're no longer dependent on other people. It just snowballs. It's amazing.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And everyone, thank you so much for coming here and being such great and active supporters. Awesome. Well done, everybody. I love it. Shelly says, awesome story. Great information. And yes, we'll leave it there. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you later.